JJ, I need you here for 2 minutes.
Mac. Yes? I don't want this man at my table.
I've got a message from your sister.
Susie has her girlish secrets. But in her heart of hearts, I imagine, Dallas, she fancies you in an uncommon way.
I want that boy taken apart.
Sweet Smell of Success, 1957, directed by Alexander Mackendrick, is a cinematic masterpiece starring Burt Lancaster as the monstrously powerful columnist J.J. Hunsecker and Tony Curtis as the desperate, groveling press agent Sidney Falco. But behind the sharp script and unforgettable performances lies a production story just as dramatic and chaotic as the film itself.
Stop beating me on the head. Let me make a living.
Sidney, what you promised, do it. Don't finagle around.
Here are 20 weird facts you didn't know about Sweet Smell of Success, 1957. Number 1. Burt Lancaster threatened to beat up the writer. The atmosphere on the set of Sweet Smell of Success was notoriously tense, and nobody felt the pressure more than star and producer Burt Lancaster. When the film flopped at the box office, Lancaster was furious and needed someone to blame. He pointed his finger directly at the original writer, Ernest Lehman, who had been forced to withdraw from the project due to a severe stomach ailment brought on by stress. At the after-party for the premiere, a fuming Lancaster cornered Lehman and told him, "You didn't have to leave. You could have made this a much better picture. I ought to beat you up." Unfazed, the quick-witted Lehman simply replied, "Go ahead, I need the money." The exchange perfectly captured the bitter fallout from the film's difficult production and commercial failure, showing just how personally Lancaster took the movie's fate.
Sidney, this syrup you're giving out with, you pour over waffles, not J.J. Hunsecker.
Number 2. Orson Welles almost played J.J. Hunsecker. It's hard to imagine anyone other than Burt Lancaster as the menacing J.J. Hunsecker.
You're all I've got in this whole wide world. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you. What do you want me to do? Name it.
But the role almost went to another Hollywood titan, Orson Welles. Lancaster's production company, Hecht Hill Lancaster, initially considered several actors for the part, including Frank Sinatra. Welles was a particularly strong contender. Having recently returned from a self-imposed exile in Europe, he was actively looking for roles to finance his own directing projects. However, after the massive success of Lancaster's 1956 film Trapeze, he felt his star power was at an all-time high and decided he was the only one who could do the role justice. He took the part of JJ for himself and gave the role of Sidney Falco to Tony Curtis, creating one of cinema's most unforgettable and toxic pairings.
You finished?
No, let me finish, JJ. I don't like this job. That boy is done on matinee days only.
Number 3. The script was written on the fly. When writer Ernest Lehman had to leave the production, the script was left in a state of chaos. To save the film, the producers hired the legendary playwright Clifford Odets to perform emergency rewrites. The process was anything but smooth. Odets would lock himself in his hotel room, frantically writing and reconstructing scenes just moments before they were scheduled to be filmed. As soon as he finished a page, a runner would grab it and race it to the set, where director Alexander Mackendrick and the actors were waiting. According to one biographer, the process was so rushed that pages were often distributed to the crew after the scenes had already been shot. This high-pressure, last-minute approach to screenwriting fueled the film's frantic, nervous energy, which you can feel in every single scene.
Hi. Just in time. JJ just finished up his rehearsal.
Number 4. J.J. Hunsecker was based on a real, terrifying man. The character of J.J. Hunsecker wasn't just a fictional monster. He was a thinly veiled caricature of one of the most powerful and feared men in America at the time, Walter Winchell. Winchell was a gossip columnist and radio broadcaster whose words could make or break careers overnight. He was known for his ruthless tactics, his immense ego, and his iron grip on the entertainment industry. The parallels between Hunsecker and Winchell are startlingly specific. Like Hunsecker, Winchell was fiercely and unnaturally protective of his daughter. The film's central plot, where JJ tries to destroy his sister's relationship with a jazz musician, was pulled directly from Winchell's life. Winchell was so obsessed with his own daughter's love life that he allegedly used his connections, including FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, to have her boyfriend run out of the country. He even had his daughter institutionalized for a time, claiming she was emotionally unstable. The film captured Winchell's poison so perfectly that it's impossible to watch Hunsecker without seeing the shadow of the real man looming behind him.
That's stout of you, Dallas, but perhaps Susie may not care to air her views in public.
If you're enjoying this so far, hit that like button and subscribe for more awesome movie facts. And tell us in the comments, what movie brings you the most nostalgia and which one should we cover next? Number 5. Tony Curtis was mobbed by fans on set. While the film's subject matter was dark, the on-location shoots in New York City had a problem of a very different kind: Tony Curtis's screaming fans. At the time, Curtis was a major Hollywood heartthrob, and shooting on the busy streets of Manhattan turned into a logistical nightmare. Every day, massive crowds of his adoring fans, mostly young women, would gather behind the barricades. They weren't just there to watch, they were constantly trying to break through security to get close to their idol. The constant noise and chaos made filming incredibly difficult and added another layer of stress to an already difficult production. While the crew struggled to get their shots, Curtis had to navigate both his intense role and the real-world hysteria his stardom created.
Rest in peace, Kello, you're skinny. But JJ says you sweat.
Number 6. JJ's menacing stare was a cinematic trick. JJ Hunsecker's cold, intimidating presence was largely defined by his glasses, and the filmmakers used clever tricks to make his stare even more menacing. Director Alexander Mackendrick had Burt Lancaster wear his own personal brow-line glasses, feeling they gave him the look of a scholarly brute. To enhance the effect, Mackendrick and legendary cinematographer James Wong Howe spread a thin layer of Vaseline on the lenses. This prevented Lancaster from being able to focus his eyes properly, giving him a blank, unnerving gaze. They then filmed him from low angles with harsh overhead lighting, causing the frames to cast dark shadows over his face. The result was a character who seemed to see everything while revealing nothing, making his powerful presence feel almost inhuman.
This Dallas boy must be good for you. Why don't you bring him around today before the show? This time I'll clean my glasses for a better look.
Number 7. A title deemed too smelly for a magazine. Before it was a film, Sweet Smell of Success was a novella by Ernest Lehman. It was first published in a 1950 issue of Cosmopolitan magazine, but not under its famous title. The editors at the magazine absolutely refused to print a story with the word smell in the title, believing it was unappealing and crude. They forced Lehman to change it, and the story was published as Tell Me About It Tomorrow. When the novella was later published in book form, the title was changed back to Lehman's original. In a sweet bit of irony, the film's release made the phrase "sweet smell of success" a permanent part of the English language, proving the magazine editors completely wrong.
This could start you off real big. TV, movies, anywhere.
Number 8. It was the most important role of Tony Curtis's life. Tony Curtis was known for his good looks and often cast in lighter, more romantic roles. Playing the slimy, ambitious Sidney Falco was a huge departure for him, and the role came to define his legacy as a serious actor.
Dog eat dog. In brief, from now on, the best of everything is good enough for me.
His daughter, actress Jamie Lee Curtis, has spoken about how deeply important the film was to her father. She revealed that when he died, the funeral card distributed to mourners was printed with one of Sidney Falco's lines: "The cat's in the bag, and the bag's in the river." She explained that her father was often angry and felt he never got the artistic respect he deserved from Hollywood. Sweet Smell of Success was the film that gave him that validation, and he considered it his single greatest contribution to cinema.
It's a lot worse than that. Auntie Van Cleve is firing him.
Number 9. The budget spiraled out of control. Hecht Hill Lancaster was an independent production company known for taking risks, but Sweet Smell of Success pushed them to their financial limits. The film was originally slated to have a modest budget of around $600,000, which was fairly typical for a black and white drama at the time. However, due to the constant script rewrites, the challenges of shooting on location in New York City and other production delays, the costs began to skyrocket. By the time filming was complete, the final budget had ballooned to an estimated $2.6 million, more than 4 times the original amount. This massive overspending made the film a huge financial gamble, and when it failed to perform at the box office, it became a significant financial blow to Lancaster's company.
Can't hurt.
Can't hurt. I had to get that boy his job back.
Number 10. The jazz band had to be clean. The filmmakers were terrified that Walter Winchell, the real-life inspiration for JJ, would use his massive platform to attack the movie. They were so paranoid that they went to extreme lengths to make sure every aspect of the production was bulletproof. This included the on-screen jazz band, the Chico Hamilton Quintet. The producers chose the group not only for their cool, West Coast jazz style, but also because they had a reputation for being clean. To be absolutely certain, the production team screened the band members for months leading up to filming, making sure none of them were drug users. They didn't want to give Winchell any ammunition he could use to create a scandal and sink the film before it even had a chance. Number 11. Top billing versus screen time. If you look at the movie poster, Burt Lancaster's name is front and center, getting top billing. He was the bigger star and one of the film's producers, so it made sense from a marketing standpoint. However, if you actually watch the movie, the story is told almost entirely through the eyes of Tony Curtis's character, Sidney Falco. Sidney is the one we follow through the grimy underbelly of New York, and he has significantly more screen time than J.J. Hunsecker. While J.J. is the powerful force driving the plot, Sidney is the film's true protagonist.
You're blind, Mr. Magoo. This is the crossroads for me. I won't get killed.
This is a classic example of how Hollywood star power can dictate billing, even when it doesn't quite match the structure of the story itself. Number 12. A contract dispute. Almost forced an actor into the film, the behind-the-scenes drama wasn't limited to just the main cast. Actor Ernest Borgnine found himself in a heated contract dispute with Burt Lancaster's production company around the time Sweet Smell of Success was being developed. Borgnine was trying to break his contract, and in a move to strong-arm him, Lancaster tried to force him to appear in the film in a supporting role. Borgnine, a formidable actor in his own right, who had just won an Oscar, flatly refused to be bullied into the part. His refusal is another example of the tense, high-stakes environment that Lancaster fostered as a producer, where business disputes and artistic projects were constantly colliding. Number 13. JJ's office was a real-life music hub. The imposing building where J.J. Hunsecker holds court in his penthouse apartment isn't a soundstage, it's a real and famous New York landmark. The building used for the exterior shots is the Brill Building, located at 1619 Broadway. For decades, the Brill Building was the heart of America's music industry, a legendary part of Tin Pan Alley. Its offices were filled with songwriters, publishers, and producers who wrote some of the most famous songs of the 20th century. Using this real-life hub of show business as the home of a powerful media columnist added a layer of authenticity to the film's depiction of the incestuous world of New York entertainment. Number 14. The director wanted a different. J.J. Burt Lancaster's decision to play J.J. himself was a key moment in the film's production, but it went directly against the wishes of his director. Alexander Mackendrick's first choice for the role was actor Hume Cronin. Mackendrick felt that Cronin had a strong physical resemblance to the real Walter Winchell and could capture the columnist's weaselly, venomous nature. Lancaster, however, was a towering athletic star known for playing heroes. Mackendrick worried that Lancaster was miscast, but as the producer, Lancaster had the final say. While a version with Cronin would have been fascinating, Lancaster's physically imposing performance created a different kind of monster, one whose power felt both psychological and brutally physical.
And what have I done to her except not buy her a new fur coat lately? You were right, Sidney. This boy is a dilly.
Number 15. The surprising debut of Piglet's voice. Sweet Smell of Success is filled with incredible actors, but one of them, in a tiny, uncredited role, would go on to become famous for a character on the complete opposite end of the personality spectrum. In an early scene, Sidney Falco ducks into a snack bar, and the clerk behind the counter is played by a young character actor named John Fiedler. While Fiedler had a long career in film and on Broadway, millions know him best as the gentle, sweet, and eternally nervous voice of Piglet in Disney's Winnie the Pooh franchise. The thought of Piglet serving coffee in the cynical, brutal world of J.J. Hunsecker is a wonderfully weird piece of movie trivia. Number 16. A training ground for the Twilight Zone. The film is packed from top to bottom with an incredible roster of character actors, many of whom would become very familiar faces on television just a few years later. In fact, an astonishing 21 actors who appeared in Sweet Smell of Success, many in small, uncredited roles, would go on to star in episodes of Rod Serling's classic anthology series, The Twilight Zone. This includes familiar names like Martin Milner, David White, and Susan Harrison. This incredible overlap shows what a deep bench of talent was working in Hollywood at the time and how this film served as a meeting point for actors who would go on to define a golden age of television. Number 17. The symbolic fur coat. Costumes in movies are never just clothes. They often tell a story of their own. In Sweet Smell of Success, a perfect example is the fur coat worn by JJ's younger sister Susie. Throughout most of the film, she is never seen without it. The coat acts as a symbol of the luxurious but suffocating world her brother has built around her. A gilded cage. It represents his control and the corrupt lifestyle he provides.
Susie, I like this crisp new attitude of yours. You're growing up, and I like it. I don't like it when you're limp and dependent.
In the film's final, powerful scene, after she has finally decided to break free from JJ's influence for good, she leaves his apartment wearing a simple, modest wool coat. That costume change signifies her liberation more powerfully than any line of dialogue could. Number 18. An actress who vanished from Hollywood. The role of JJ's vulnerable sister, Susie, was played by a young actress named Susan Harrison in her feature film debut. She delivered a sensitive and memorable performance as a young woman trapped by her brother's obsessive control.
Susie, I'd have to take it very much amiss if you ever saw that boy again.
Given her strong start, many would have expected her to have a long and successful career in Hollywood. Instead, her career was surprisingly short. After Sweet Smell of Success, she would make only one more film, Key Witness, 1960. Before leaving the acting business altogether, her abrupt departure from the industry adds a touch of real-life mystery to the legacy of the film. Number 19. A legacy built on failure. For a film now considered an all-time classic, its initial reception was a disaster. Audiences in 1957 were not ready for a movie with no heroes, no redemption, and two main characters who were thoroughly despicable. It bombed at the box office, and critics at the time were sharply divided. Burt Lancaster was deeply bitter about its failure, especially since he had poured so much of his own money and passion into it. However, over the decades, the film's reputation began to grow. A new generation of critics and film students rediscovered its sharp, quotable dialogue, its stunning black and white cinematography, and its brave, uncompromising darkness.
I remember once when you didn't quite put things together. Boy, was the mayor mad.
Its Sweet Smell of Success was simply delayed, and it is now celebrated as a masterpiece that was years ahead of its time. Number 20. Lancaster's towering self-belief. Burt Lancaster's decision to cast himself as J.J. Hunsecker wasn't just a business move. It was a bold artistic statement. He was an actor known for playing charming, heroic, and physically capable characters. Taking on the role of a venomous, psychologically cruel gossip columnist was a complete departure from his public image. He overruled his director and pushed aside other legendary actors like Orson Welles because he believed he was the only one who could truly embody the character's monstrous power. Despite the on-set tension and the film's initial failure, Lancaster was always immensely proud of his performance. It remains one of the bravest and most transformative roles of his career, proving that his belief in himself, however arrogant, was ultimately justified. And that's 20 shocking facts about Sweet Smell of Success, 1957. From its real-life inspiration to legendary performances and a chaotic production, this cinematic masterpiece remains one of the greatest film noirs ever made. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment which movie we should cover next.